everybody. Thank you for joining us today for First Calls Let's Talk. Today we are joined with our harm reduction specialist, Casey Johnson. Casey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that don't know, First Call is the go-to resource in Kansas City metro area for support with drugs, alcohol, and addiction. We emphasize our work through prevention, harm reduction, recovery, and family services. So today we're going to do a focus on harm reduction. So Casey, for those who are unfamiliar with harm reduction, can you please give us an overview of what harm reduction is?
Absolutely. Harm reduction, lowercase h, lowercase r, is just a set of practical strategies aimed at reducing the negative consequences of drug and alcohol use. Capital H, capital R is a social justice movement really built on a belief in and respect for the rights and the dignity of folks who utilize drugs.
Amazing. So what does that look like at First Call? What does our harm reduction services kind of look like?
It looks a bunch of different ways. We help people who use drugs more safely. And so sometimes that is building strategies for individuals, for families, for communities to ensure health and safety while utilizing drugs. Sometimes that is training clinicians in our area who work with people who use drugs to do so in a more dignified and loving way.
Amazing. I love that. Now, I know there's a lot of misunderstanding that surrounds harm reduction. So we're going to kind of focus on that and try and talk through and educate everyone on what those look like. And my first thought when you're talking about helping people use more drugs in a more safe manner, kind of the idea is that harm reduction enables. Like, is that true that if we provide people with, say, naloxone or test strips, that we're going to increase the use?
Absolutely not. I hear this argument about enabling a lot, and typically when we're talking about harm reduction resources like naloxone or test strips, I say naloxone is enabling. It enables breathing, and that's it. Harm reduction is backed by decades of data. It's evidence-based, it's pragmatic, it's fiscally responsible. And we know that people who are engaged with harm reduction services are 5 times more likely to seek recovery and 3 times more likely to sustain recovery. The secret component or the secret sauce is that when you show a person love, respect, dignity, and justice, they start to believe that they're worthy of those things. And that can be a difficult thing to quantify when we're talking about harm reduction services. But like I said, it's backed by decades of data.
That's amazing. Yeah. I know that there's a lot of misconception through, friends that I talk to and things, and they're like, well, isn't that? And I'm like, actually, it's not. Like, I know you would think, but that's not how it works. So the next thing I want to talk about, and I hear this all the time. I just talked with a friend this weekend who had the misconception about, if my child picks up something and it's just doused in fentanyl, like they're going to overdose. And let's just talk about that, I guess. What's it, true, false?
False.
Okay.
You cannot overdose on fentanyl by touching it. The only time in which fentanyl can be absorbed through the skin is through a special doctor-prescribed transdermal fentanyl patch, skin patch, which are increasingly rare these days also. But because they're designed to be absorbed over many hours, it's very, very unlikely that a person would overdose from a transdermal patch. And even if you used it off-label. Also, while we're here, fentanyl doesn't magically aerosolize. It doesn't grow wings and fly up your nose. I have been in recovery for a number of years, and I touch fentanyl a few times a week when I'm helping folks learn how to use fentanyl test strips. And I have not been affected by fentanyl in years. This myth is especially dangerous because A, it's untrue, and B, it negatively impacts folks who are less likely to respond to an overdose out of fear that they may come in contact with fentanyl. So it's especially important that we dispel this myth for sure.
Absolutely. That. The next one is, where are we seeing fentanyl? So there's like this idea that it's in every single drug. Is that true? Are we only seeing it, say, in like pill form, or what is that looking like? Marijuana, whatever that looks like. Where should we be cautious about where fentanyl might be?
Absolutely. I also think it's important to note that a lot of folks prefer to utilize fentanyl. So we see this substance get really vilified in the media. And some folks are utilizing fentanyl test strips to confirm that what they have actually is fentanyl versus something like xylazine, for example. So I think anytime that we vilify a particular substance, the myths really compound and the ripple effect is far reaching. So to answer your question, I do think it's in everything, but it is not in marijuana. And that's because it's scientifically impossible. Fentanyl decomposes at a much lower degree Celsius than marijuana does, than any marijuana product does. I am obviously not a toxicologist, but if you're interested in learning more about this, I would look up Dr. Ryan Marino's work, and he's dedicated most of his career to dispelling this myth. It has never, ever been confirmed by a lab, ever.
That's good to know. I would not have known that. I'd have been like, I don't know, I guess it could be in anything, but good to know. And then kind of the last one we really wanted to talk about was the idea that fentanyl is being really marketed to kids, whether that's through, rainbow colored treats or whatever that looks like. I know every time around Halloween, there's this idea that like, check your kids' candy. They're really passing out fentanyl at the trick-or-treating. So kind of explain that to us. What does that look like?
Not even drug dealers want your kids addicted to drugs. First and foremost, your kids are not good consumers because they don't have jobs. Second, anytime an illegally manufactured pill is rainbow colored or hot pink or what have you, that is incredible. That's a safety measure. That's a function of harm reduction, which allows a consumer to be better informed about what they might be taking. When an illegally manufactured pill or pressed pill looks like a Percocet or a Xanax or an Adderall or a Vicodin, there is an illusion of safety because it looks exactly like the real thing, and it's not. But when it's rainbow colored or hot pink, then I know, oh, this is probably, right, not Percocet, not Xanax, not Adderall, etc. So no, not even drug dealers want kids utilizing drugs. This is a good thing when things are rainbow colored or bright purple or what have you.
Good to know. Love that. Such good information, Casey, and thank you so much for providing your expertise and education for everyone, including myself. I learned a lot today. Additionally, I would like to plug First Call, let everyone know that First Call provides naloxone and test strips with consideration of a donation. You can come to our office Monday through Thursday from 9 to 5, and we have kiosks downstairs on our first level where you can utilize those resources. And we will be having Casey back on for another episode to talk more about harm reduction, but if you need more information in the meantime, please visit firstkcallkc.org/HR, and that HR is for harm reduction. Or you can call us at 816-361-5900. And that's all we have for today on Let's Talk. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks for joining us, Casey.
Thanks, Erin.